You are now tuned in to the Windy City Benders podcast. This is WCBP.
All right, welcome to a very special edition of the Windy City Benders podcast. We're episode 102. We're posting this a little bit earlier than we typically do our episodes during the week. Why is that, Tanner?
We got just the best news in the world. It's how the draft's going to happen and how the playoffs are going to happen.
So much has been dropped in the last, 2 hours regarding, what's going on. So we're going to attempt to do our best to kind of explain everything from our understanding.
Yeah,
and
going over it several times and trying to understand it all.
And then we'll kind of, obviously we'll talk a little bit about what this means for the Hawks and what this kind of means for, I guess, the rest of the league and everything, because, I mean, there's a lot at stake now. And I think before we actually get into it, I want to put this out here just because I think it's getting missed in the excitement that hockey is potentially back. All of this that's being announced, everything that's going on, it's still pending health officials' approval that the players are safe, that this can be done, all that. So as excited as we are to see this happen, and I think it is going to happen, you got to also mentally prepare yourself for the chance that they just say that, you know what, it's not going to happen. Yeah. That it's not worth it. Their ultimate goal, from what Gary Bettman said during his little 15-minute conference, if you want to call it that, that their ultimate goal is to player safety and to make sure that they get a full 2021 season as well. So I think that's going to be a lot of take into account for that too. But all right, so now that that's done, let's jump into it. So
well, yes, go for it. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically, so Friday,
excited.
so Friday, you heard the vote that the NHLPA approved the 24-team format. There was only 2 teams that voted against it, Tampa Bay and Carolina. Yeah. So
just because I know Carolina's, it was just because their chance of winning the cup lessened, but like we've been saying all the time, just be better. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Just,
but what's
all you have to do is just win. That's all you got to do in the playoffs.
I was looking at some of the matchups too, and Carolina's playing New York, and Carolina went 0-4 against New York this year. So I'm sure that had something to do with it.
Oh, that makes sense.
But so they approved the 24-team format. So they said the top 24 teams based on points percentage will be participating in the playoffs. Top 4 teams from each conference are guaranteed locked in for playoff. The bottom 8 teams are going to be doing a best-of-5 qualifying round. While that is going on, the top 4 teams will be playing in a round-robin style to determine the seeding, which I think was confirmed that is the case. With that, the top what is it? 24 teams. Sorry, I kind of lost myself in all these notes here.
So top 12 teams per conference based on points percentage is what's making it to the playoff or the play-in round, basically, which means Blackhawks make it as the last team in the West, and Montreal makes it as the last team in the East.
Which is the biggest joke of all of it, because it's so fucking hilarious that they have 19 regular.
Yeah. Yeah, they have so few regulation wins, and they had a 0.3% chance of making it to the playoffs at that point. But they had a chance. So once they do that, they're going to determine 2 hub cities that each conference will play in. And did you get to take a look at the list of the cities in consideration? Because they
I have them here.
Completely.
I have them here. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can talk about it. You can say them? I don't know. Let's go back and forth. Chicago's one of them, so I'm super excited about that. Chicago could end up being one of the cities. Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Vegas, LA, Minneapolis, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Vancouver.
Very West heavy.
Yeah, I mean, sounds about right. Yeah, right.
I was kind of surprised that
right,
Chicago. I was surprised about Chicago being considered.
I was too, a little bit, because I feel like it's such a like a really dense area, and like they would probably be playing at the United Center, which is in the heart of downtown.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, but like there's tons of places for the like teams to be quarantined at though too. I don't know.
Yeah. During the qualifying round games, and I guess throughout the playoffs, each team will have a limited amount of personnel that's allowed to come with them. They cut that number off at 50, and then even a smaller number of those players or people will be allowed to even attend the events. So they're doing their best to really keep the social distancing and, numbers low for all this. So that's down the line. So right now, Bettman confirmed that right now they are still currently in phase 1 of this whole plan.
Yep.
They are expecting to start phase
2 is supposed to be
like next week.
Early June. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
anytime early June, which is just small groups getting together for training. So not even just like full teams, but like small groups of players that are allowed to practice together or
it's
train
like limited
together.
It's like limited 6 players at a time.
Yeah.
That is all voluntary as well. They also said that you are allowed to reach out to for example, Austin Matthews is quarantining in Arizona.
Yeah.
He's allowed to reach out to the Coyotes to train at their facility.
Well, can the Coyotes just say no, though?
I'm sure they could, but I don't know why they would.
No.
Yeah.
Or just pay us and we'll let you.
I'm sure there's going to be some sort of arrangement there.
It's a memberships only.
Yeah. So once phase 2 goes, you'll kind of probably start hearing more about potential startup dates, maybe a little bit clearer picture on what city's going to be hosting these 2 conferences. Phase 3 will be training camps starting, which they aren't anticipating beginning anywhere before July 1st. So there will be no hockey until at least July. No, mid-July. Sure. Yeah, mid-July, early August.
Yeah, so that'd be fun. And then just their phase 4 is playoffs. Get the teams to the hub cities and start cranking it out. Oh man, I'm so excited. I hope that happens so soon.
They believe that the qualifying rounds, and did he say that was the first 2 rounds of playoffs they expect to finish in a month, or was it just the qualifying rounds and round robin?
I don't remember exactly what he said for that.
Yeah, but so
I know like when we get into more of like how the playoffs are going to work, I'll tell more about that. But
also what we didn't mention is that the 2019-2020 regular season is officially over. There will be no more games played towards it. What the standings is, what the points are for players, it's what the points are. So you'll start seeing individual awards being announced, such as Draisaitl for Art Ross. And then I don't even know who was it. Ovechkin.
I thought he was tied. Let me pull it up real quick. It was Ovechkin and Pasternak were tied at 48.
Okay.
Which sucks because like Matthews was at 47. It's like you finish the season, anything can happen.
Yeah.
But shit happens. So yeah.
So some things they're still trying to determine as well. So once you get to the playoff situation, are they going to be doing these rounds based on seeding, or are they going to be doing it by a fixed bracket? So basically the difference is seeding. They will. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I also just like really like he was saying that the top 4 teams, from what I understood, is like they did their round robin and that determines where they are, like 1 through 4. It was I thought a lot of people had been saying beforehand, they're like, they're gonna do a round robin and then that could shift up. They can shift like how they're gonna do. They're like, based on like where they are in the standings already, like if they get more points and then they can jump them. It's like, no, it's just round robin determined to where you are 1 through 4. Any ties are decided by higher regular season's points percentage. which is like, oh, that's cool. So even though that Boston's number 1 right now of the 4 teams, they can end up being 4-4. Like if they don't do shit in their round robin. Same with St. Louis. St. Louis can end up being team 4 if they don't do shit in their round robin. So that means that all first round matchups can be completely random. It's not determined by anything. Like we had been seeing a lot of people with their projected brackets, and it's like, oh, it's either like the winner of Columbus and Toronto is going to play Boston. It's like that's not for sure at all anymore.
That's not for sure. And you got to kind of hope that Toronto will be pulling for that not to be the case.
Yeah. They also were saying that the round robin is going to end up being regular season rules. So it's like regulation, overtime, shootout. Yeah. And then, but the play-in round itself is going to be playoff rules. So continuous OT. So I think that's pretty interesting and kind of awesome. Like it's almost a little bit more of a playoff atmosphere if you're going to get into like double OT in some of these games, and then like the other round robin guys are going to just go to fucking shootouts.
And that's a concern that a lot of these teams, I know that was Tampa Bay's concern about doing this format, that how fair is it to these teams that are guaranteed a playoff spot and all they're doing is playing round robins when you're going to be getting all these qualifying round teams playing actual playoff hockey.
Yeah. But I mean,
it's a valid point, but also your professionals be better.
Also, I mean, another thing I was going to say is like they're going to be beating the shit out of each other as hard as they can in a 5-game series. So like you're coming into a first round against a team that's gone through some shit already.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a team that basically finished off the season scraping tooth and nail to fucking make it to the playoffs, and now they're facing a top 4 team, and like that team was somewhat sitting pretty. Like, I mean, you still have a slight advantage. Plus, you were already better in the regular season. Just fucking be better. Like,
I feel like that's gonna be that's gonna become the new tagline of our show. Just be better.
Fucking be better, dude. Like, don't complain. Be better.
So, in case you've been living under a rock, here are I'm just gonna go real quick. Just the matchups for the qualifying round. You got Toronto, Columbus, Pittsburgh versus Montreal, the Islanders versus Panthers, Carolina versus New York Rangers, and then in the West you got Calgary versus Winnipeg, Edmonton versus our Chicago Blackhawks, Vancouver versus Minnesota, and Nashville versus the Coyotes. So I think some good qualifying rounds, especially, it just adds that extra excitement that these guys or these teams are fighting for their playoff life. So it's going to be 100 miles per hour, pedal to the metal. Let's go, like, right off the bat.
I just love that, like, I'm kind of scared of, like, playoff McDavid, but a lot of other teams are scared of playoff Kane. So I'm like, all right, cool. Apparently we got it locked down. Also playoff Crawford over fucking Mikko Koskinen and Cam Talbot all day.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about that real quick before we start talking about like the draft lottery and all that. How do you think this benefits the Blackhawks? How do you think it's like a disadvantage for them?
Oh, I was seeing like that some players can potentially come back for the Blackhawks that have been out for a while. Like Calvin DeHaan could come back.
Caggiula.
Yeah, Caggiula. And then apparently Boqvist was hurt at the end of the season. They weren't sure about Zach Smith. Like, Seabrook's not going to be ready until the next season. But apparently he's feeling great, which is we'll see what that really, like, turns out to be. Like, Shaw, I mean, I don't think Shaw's going to be playing, but he's like, I saw one thing where it was just about like, yeah, Shaw's been posting a lot more on social media. Maybe he's feeling better because it was concussion symptoms. So like, if he comes back in the playoffs too, he's been huge. He was huge this season. He got put out like earlier on. So like that would be crazy if we got Shaw back, we got Caggiula back, and we got fucking Calvin DeHaan back, and Boqvist. Like that'd be huge.
I actually read that. Yeah, I read that Seabs, Shaw, and Smith are officially out. There's no.
They're officially out.
Yeah.
So there's no chance that Ian Mitchell could play, could they?
No. I believe. I don't know if we talked about this last week or I think maybe we were talking about it. Bettman is not happy with all the teams that
Oh,
sign
that's right.
college players to these to be determined contracts. So basically, any player that signed one of those contracts that they haven't did a start date yet, they are going to be forced to start them on the beginning of the 2020-21 season.
It's like, how amazing would that be if it was like Ian Mitchell coming up like a Cale Makar situation he did last year? He just ends up fucking destroying the fucking playing round. That would be so exciting.
So the head-to-head matchup between the Oilers and the Hawks this past season goes in the favor of the Hawks, 2-1.
Yep.
Hawks won at home.
Yeah, they shut down McDavid and Draisaitl. In their first matchup, which was like the first time neither of them had gotten a point at that, like in a game that season. And like they were tearing it up. So
I was at that game, that first game in October, and I completely forgot that those two guys were even playing because they were just fucking nothing.
Yeah, they got shut down by that. What was it? It was like Zach Smith and like Kubalik and Sodline or something like that.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
But like you said too, I mean, you're essentially this is going to come down to Connor McDavid, Draisaitl versus playoff Taves, Kane, Crawford, Keith, like all these guys that have experience. And in the end, I mean, I'm not saying that the Hawks are guaranteed to win the series. I think will go 5 games.
Yeah,
and
cool.
I think that there is I would not be surprised if the Hawks win.
Yeah, neither would I. It would be amazing because like I could see it happening, and it's funny because like what Nolly talked about in our group chat earlier is like we've been saying Hawks playoffs all year, and we weren't wrong.
Yeah. So too bad Chicklets never took me up on that bet I did because I would have won.
Oh, also regular season's over. Dylan Sakura didn't score more than 5.5 goals, so you guys owe me a case.
It was an incomplete season though, so.
Nope. Season's over, baby. I'm gonna make sure I text that to the group right now.
So I think right now, honestly, and the Hawks are one of those teams that are in a definite win-win situation, I think.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of teams that fall in that too, but I really like that the fact that the Hawks win, they move on in the playoffs. The Hawks lose, they have a great chance at a really good draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll talk about how that can work out, like as soon as we finish the rest of the. Or I mean, it's kind of almost done. One thing that I noticed that he mentioned was that he said round 1 of the playoffs and round 2 of the playoffs, they're not sure if it'll be best of 5 or best of 7. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting and weird because, I mean, you want a regular playoffs, but I understand, like, wanting to kind of speed it up. And that's like a huge crunch on, like, 2 rounds of, like, regular playoffs, too.
I bet you that's what they kind of have, like how we talked about, like, having these target deadlines.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if it's this time, we'll do best of 7. If it's this time, it's got to be best of 5.
Yeah, that makes sense, too.
So – let's see.
If everything goes to plan as early as possible, then maybe they'll do best of 7. If not, and it gets pushed back a little bit, maybe second round's best of 7, first round's best of 5, and it gets pushed back even further, maybe they're both best of 5. But He said for sure quarterfinals, or not quarterfinals, the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals will be best of 7, absolutely.
Yes, as the way it should be. Like, honestly, if the Stanley Cup was the only best of 7 series, that's the only one that truly matters in my opinion, but I'm glad they're at least doing the conference final.
There's some times where like the conference final ends up being basically the Stanley Cup final, like when the Hawks and the Kings did it in 2014.
So that's kind of like, I hope they do like a Fitz bracket where they just do like top seed all the way down to like the low seed, because then we can actually get a legitimate playoff that we haven't gotten in since
that would
divisional.
be a seeded. I'm just saying, like, with their terminology, that would be a seeded kind of thing. And then, like, they were talking about, like, bracket or seeded, and they're not entirely sure what they're going to do. And I think that having it be seeded, kind of like how it used to be, would be amazing to kind of get, like, a little –
like the 1 through 8 format.
Yeah,
the 1 through 8. That's what I want. That's what it should be, I think. I understand why they try to do divisional, but I just they
It's
gotta
so
stop
frustrating.
this.
Like you want to promote rivalries, yeah, it's cool, but it's also boring as hell to see Boston and Toronto play each other all the time because you're like, wow, I just feel terrible for fucking Toronto. Like
Yeah.
having Boston and Toronto as a rivalry is fantastic, but you know what? If maybe they meet in the third round or the second round after like a couple of years rather than first round every year in a row, like it's fucking like okay, like you're the two best teams in your division. Or two of the best teams in like your division, and then you end up playing each other. It's like, all right, well, sucks to suck.
Right.
It's annoying when you have like a heavily or a heavy division and like your top four teams are better than a lot of other teams, and it just kind of sucks for that. But yeah. We'll move on.
And then with also one more thing. With all this in mind though too, you got to keep in mind that they have no intention of having a shortened season next year too. So we are in for a shit ton of hockey starting whenever this playoff format starts, if it does. So let's fucking go, baby.
It's gonna be crazy.
I'm gonna let you take over for the draft lottery because I think you might have a little bit better.
I fucking love it. So the draft, they explained that the draft is going to happen in basically 2 phases, and so there's a pre-qualifying round, or like the play-in round, which is what they're going to call the qualifying round for this. There's a pre-qualifying round draft and a post-qualifying round draft. And so the only teams that are eligible are the 7 teams out of the playoffs, and then the 8 teams that are eliminated from the play-in round. So phase 1, or the pre-qualifying round draft, is going to happen on June 26th. They said that for sure. So
yeah,
I'm just assuming that even if they don't end up playing, like that's just what they're going to go with. So like that's what's kind of weird. So it's the top 17 or the top 7 teams for the draft. So like Detroit, Ottawa, and like everybody else.
LA, Anaheim, New Jersey, Buffalo.
Yeah, and then there's 8 placeholder teams for the teams that are going to be eliminated. And which I'm wondering, like, if they end up not playing in the playoffs, if they just, like, link those placeholder names to, like, teams that were supposed to be in those spots, and then they just automatically get those, like, draft picks if they win,
See, that's where I'm, like, kind of confused, though, too, with it. Like, by rushing to get it this early, like, say they don't have the season, and then you go to, like, a phase 2 type. That's what I can see. That part doesn't, like, make sense to me.
All right.
So just keep,
Yeah, so what happens is we're just going to go with like the season's going to be the playoffs are going to happen. So they do this first draft, which consists of the 7 teams out of the playoffs and the 8 placeholder teams. That's what it is. It's just 8 placeholders, not actual teams or anything like that. And so that's for the top 3 picks. If any of the 7 teams gets a pick, they automatically get that pick. There's nothing else that happens. If a placeholder team ends up winning a top 3 pick, then they move to phase 2. So if all of the 3 picks are chosen by one of the 7 teams that are already in it, then phase 2 doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, so like they don't have to do that shit at all. So if there is a placeholder team that gets a top 3 pick, even if it's all 3 picks, so that would be like, all right, suck it, Detroit. Now you get 4th. Suck it, Ottawa. You get 5th and 6th. Sorry. Like, this is just how it goes. This is what's also hilarious is that they moved to phase 2. And so phase 2 is a second draft lottery. And that consists of all 8 teams that were eliminated from the play-in round. And they don't get any different kind of percentages at all. They all get equal percentage chance at getting whatever pick they're going for. So
which is
if it's
12.5.
Which is 12.5. So each team, if it's first overall, second overall, or third overall, they all have 12.5% chance to get that, which is fucking hilarious. Because like I was saying before we started recording, is if you have Pittsburgh, who's already pissed off that they have to play Montreal because Carey Price can steal the series. Cool. Pittsburgh, guess what, already has fucking 86 points. They're probably going to be playoff bound no matter what. They could end up winning the fucking first overall pick with this kind of like system because what would happen is you get a placeholder team to win the first overall pick. Pittsburgh gets eliminated, and then Pittsburgh has a 12.5% chance at number 1, and then they get it. And it's like, all right, well, I bet you're not crying now. Like, that's fucking crazy.
God, Edmonton. Haas knock off Edmonton. They're getting that first overall pick.
That's what I
fucking
was
know
thinking
it.
too. Yeah, but it's so crazy to me that it's just like, yeah, we're going to do a second draft lottery. And then all of you teams that didn't win the first draft lottery, you have to just sit here and watch as we do another one without you. And even though you had such a good chance, it's like, oh my God, it's so funny. So
how pissed off a Detroit fan's going to be if
I don't know. But what the crazy things are too is like, I'm trying to think of like who was just outside the playoffs. Like the Rangers.
Pull it up.
The Rangers were just outside the playoffs, and so their percentage chance, if it was like they don't make the playoffs, they have a 1 or 2% chance at getting the first overall pick. You know.
Oh, shout out NHL.com for putting
like
the
Pittsburgh
points
also.
percentage standings on the page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Islanders, Rangers, and Florida were just outside.
Which team was in ninth?
Ninth would be the Islanders.
Islanders. So if Islanders, let's say, are technically like in 17th place or whatever, like when out of the playoffs. Their percentage chance should have been 1% to get the first overall pick. Now, if they lose the qualifying round and the first overall pick's still up for grabs, their 1% chance just goes up to 12.5. And, that's a fucking win. But like I said before, too, because teams like Pittsburgh and who else, like Carolina and fucking Winnipeg and Edmonton, teams that had, if they were playoff bound, then they had a 0% chance at a first or a top 3 pick at all. They now just go from 0 to 12.5. There you go. I mean,
so
that's insane.
Here's my question about this a little bit too. Because we'll know before these qualifying rounds start if one of these placeholder teams gets one of those top 3 picks. Does that add some incentive to some of these teams that are maybe bubble teams to be like, you know what, we'll try to win, but you know what, we're not going to kill ourselves to win, kill ourselves to do it?
I don't think any of the players give a shit about the draft. You know,
right? Yeah,
they're not going to be like, oh, we should lose this so that our team can be better next year. When probably a bunch of the players on the team don't even know if they'll be on that team next year.
Right.
It's like, fuck that. We just barely made the playoffs. We're going to fucking bust our nuts off to try and win these fucking playoffs. We were given the chance that we shouldn't have gotten. It'll be, I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, let's throw this at a chance to get a fucking a top 3 pick. And then the other thing was after they're done with the top 3, it's just teams are seeded based on reverse points percentage.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that actually means if the Blackhawks end up winning the play-in round and lose in round 1, 2, or 3, if they still end up getting maybe 9.
No, so that will basically. So what that was is reverse.
Oh, yeah.
So
reverse order
basically,
teams out of the playoffs then.
Yes. So
Okay,
it'll be
sense.
1 through 17.
Yeah.
And
no,
then
1 through 15 or whatever.
1 through 15, yeah. And
Yeah.
then playoffs, just how the playoffs go. So when
then it's how they're eliminated and how many
their points
percentage at that point when they were eliminated. So if they were eliminated in the third round, they'd end up being late 20s.
Yeah.
But that'd be hilarious.
So
I'm excited.
I mean, it's interesting. I'm so pumped. This is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Part of me still hey, you know what? Focus on making sure we get a full season next year. But the more that this is explained and the more that this is laid out, if this can fucking happen, let's go. They have done such a good job with having everything planned out and everything, all these points and draft lottery. They have all this stuff ready to go for that. I don't know how much he had to do with this, but I got to say, I kind of, gained a little bit of I don't know if respect's the right word, but Bettman's doing a fantastic job, I think, with how he's handling this whole situation. I know that there's more behind the scenes than what he's doing, but I feel the approach that he's taking, he's acting like a commissioner, a legitimately my concerns about the game, not the owners, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know. It's
like I'm sure they want to make money, that's for sure.
Right.
But like you said when you like started the thing, it's like there's an overwhelming like voice from the fans that they want playoff hockey, and like we're doing our best to like make sure that we can make that happen. But I do like that he's like, we got to make sure it's safe. Like the players need to be safe before anything can happen. You can't just have playoff hockey because people want it.
So does this mean though too that they've got an agreement with the players talking about, because I know a lot of players' concern was being away from family and all that kind of stuff. Do you think that's already taken care of in this situation, or do you think that falls under we still got to figure this out if it's gonna work?
What do you mean?
So if
they go forward with it, like the players are still under contract. Like they have to show up. If they don't show up, you get a situation like Buffalo, and then they can get their contract terminated and shit. You get suspended by the team.
So I don't know, I'm trying to think what to say. I'm saying like, do you think the players are in agreement where they've laid out the situation with that? Because a lot of players said that they would say no to coming back if it meant staying away from their family. So I wonder if the players already have an agreement now in place, like that's all taken care of.
Like the player, I mean, like I'm assuming that like their family will come with them.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm just, because that's one thing. That's one thing I can see that can possibly.
Yeah, I think it was really like the players didn't want to be like quarantined by themselves away from their family, but like if they do some way where like the family can come with and like be with them, like that's what they want to like. That's what they want. Like I'm assuming that is what it meant.
That's the one thing. Yeah, that's like the one thing I think that can really ruin this from the players' point of view is if they don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
But like I said, it doesn't matter. Oh my God, I'm looking at people's already brackets. These just fucking idiots.
People have brackets already?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. You can't have brackets if it's not even determined whether or not they're gonna seed or do an actual bracket. But
this person's got St. Louis versus Philadelphia, and Philadelphia winning.
It's possible.
Yeah, but yeah. So
good that we're talking about that on the show right now. Like this fucking dumb bracket.
I'm like, because I had this whole thing like pictured up with the proposed bracket or whatever.
Yeah.
And all that. So I had the CD and I scrolled down and at the bottom. Oh, here's what I think's gonna happen. So sorry.
Oh, yeah.
ADD moment there.
Yeah. Well, here's what's gonna happen. Blackhawks are gonna beat Edmonton, and then they're gonna beat whoever the fuck they're gonna beat, and then they're gonna beat whoever the fuck they need to beat, and then they're gonna just go all the way to Stanley Cup and win. And it's gonna be against Montreal.
Let's go.
So funny.
So, yeah, I mean I think that's kind of the best we can kind of explain everything. They're gonna be dropping
crazy.
So yeah, I don't think we're really gonna hear much more until Phase 3 starts, or they're about to enter Phase 3. Yeah, playoff hockey, baby.
It's on the horizon.
Yeah, and draft would be in October is what I was reading.
Okay.
So cool. That's an interesting situation too, because you got a lot of these junior kids and Europeans. Are they going to go back to their team and play? Are they going to sit out and hopefully wait, or what's going on with that? Those are like the next set of questions that I have that I can't wait to hear about, because favorite time of the year is free agency too. After the Stanley Cup's out, let's go free agency.
Well, I want to know about like the player awards, because like what we were talking about before, like Rangers are in the playoffs. Does that mean Panarin gets the Hart?
Yeah.
I think he was killing it. He was killing it.
He's the reason why I think New York's in the situation they are.
Yeah. I just want like so much playoff hockey in my face, but we still have like a month for sure before like anything can start at the earliest. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. It's like a month and a half before games can actually start.
And it's getting nice outside, and I still can't go out there. It's so fucking bad all the time now.
I hope that they put every single game on TV some way for or like give like NHL.com like free kind of thing because
Oh, dude, can you imagine the TV deals that would probably come out because there's sports on TV? Like everyone would want some. Like, oh my god.
Because those round robin, I'm actually really interested to see how those round robin games will be played.
Yeah.
Because you got one or two things. Those can be like a preseason game, like, okay, well, let's go, but we're not going to, hurt ourselves kind of thing. But it also going to be Boston. I hope Boston goes over and gets dropped down.
Boston and Tampa are going to face each other in the round robin, and they had some bad blood, like, in, like, February or something like that. And, I mean, it only takes one guy, especially when you have somebody like Marchand on the team, to fucking pull some shit in a round robin game, and then the game just fucking turns into a bloodbath.
It just ends. Oh my god, let's fucking
go. Philly, I feel like Philly's gonna destroy that round robin. How are they gonna determine
the way they were playing? Home?
Oh, actually, how's Carter Hart gonna play? They're not gonna be in Philly at all. That's why dude, Philly's done round one. Unless they like just turn to Brian Elliott. Like Carter Hart can't play away from like. What is it, Wells Fargo Center?
Yeah.
He can't play away from there. His stats are terrible.
Flyers voted yes on this if they can dress the stadium as Wells Fargo.
You know what also I just thought of?
What's that?
What happens to fantasy? Where's my fantasy team at now?
So I mean the regular season's over.
Yeah. I told you we gotta do my idea.
No, I'm 100%.
We gotta do the NHL 20 idea.
That's it.
All right. Well, here's the idea for all you fans out there, if you haven't heard it. But in order to determine your fantasy playoffs at all, just all get together. I mean, when it's safe, or you can stream it, and you just have one person like basically create a team for each player's team that was in the playoffs, and just use everybody that they had on their fantasy team. At the time, and just simulate games. But I mean, it's like, don't just like go and simulate them. Just actually like have the computer play the computer and just be with your boys and watch the games, and just like whoever wins moves on, and then you can determine a fantasy champion from there. It'd be fucking sick.
I kind of want to do that from now on in playoffs. Once we start playoffs in fantasy,
we
don't use Yahoo.
No way. Because like I have guys like Ryan Graves who like is not shit in fucking. Like the actual like league, or like he's not shit in like NHL 20, but in the league he was like plus 47. He's like huge plus minus guy. But yeah,
remember what my fantasy team was.
Oh, dude, doesn't matter. My team was killing it. So, but yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. So quick little episode. It'll probably be this episode for the week. I don't know if we'll record again, just because this is probably all the hockey news that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully Nolly will be back soon. He's getting his surgery on Friday finally, so
true.
He'll be back at full strength.
Everybody say, get better, Nolly.
Yeah, get better, Nolly. Leave in the comments. I know you're listening, Ben.
Oh, no, not get better. Sorry, not get better. Just Nolly, be better. Just Nolly, hashtag be better, bro.
Be better. And he's too cool for social media, so we'll make sure he sees it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So... All right. Let us know. Let us know what you guys think about the playoffs. If you're excited for it, if you still are against, continuing the season and all that. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and
you got a Twitch too.
We do got the Twitch too, WCBPodcast, but I can't fucking figure out how to get all of our voices on it, and it's bugging the shit out of me. So yeah, better yet, anybody that's listening that knows how the hell to fix that so we can hear all of us talk when we're getting our asses kicked in shell, let us know.
Yeah.
And leave reviews, help us get up those Apple rankings. Let's go. Playoff hockey's coming. We'll have actual hockey to talk about again soon.
Yeah.
So for the next one, it's Jarom and Tanner. Bye.
Yeah, episode 102, right?
Yeah, 102. The return.
The return. Yup. All right, perfect. Love you, boys.